Hey, this is James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting March the 11th, 2019. Thank you for tuning in and joining me for this week's video reading. I am so glad to have you here. Before getting into this week's reading, though, I want to do two things. First, I want to thank those of you who sent me birthday wishes. Last week was my birthday, which I announced in last week's video reading, and I got a number of birthday wishes and well wishes, so I want to take a moment to say thank you for all those wishes. I did have a very interesting day, which I may talk about at a later point, but I do want to share this because I think this was the highlight of my day. My day started off where I had a dream. I woke up from a dream, and in the dream I was reading Tarot de Marseille. So I was very excited because I have been working with historical decks, and Tarot de Marseille has been one of those historical decks. So I was very happy to see it show up in the dream, especially coming off the heels of Tarot Month, which was the Oracle Outlook readings for the month of February, because if you remember, that was the month where I was celebrating 20 years of being a tarot reader, and Tarot de Marseille was actually one of the decks that I used throughout that month of video reading. So you will be seeing more of Tarot de Marseille in the future, because I think it's going to be paving the way for a very significant chapter in my continuing evolution or journey reading tarot. So you will be seeing more of that. So I just wanted to say thank you one and all for the well wishes. I would also like to thank those of you who have recently subscribed to the channel. Over the course of the last few weeks, I've had a number of new subscribers, so I want to take this moment to say hello and officially welcome you to the channel. Thank you so much for taking that step to subscribe. It means a lot to me that you would create space in your life for me and the work that goes into the channel in that way. So thank you one and all. But I always say this because I never want to leave out regular viewers, but whether you are a subscriber or a viewer, I can never do what I do here without any of you tuning in and watching from out there. So thank you one and all for your continued support and encouragement of what I'm doing in this space. And so now, speaking of this space, let's now move into the deck that I'm going to be working with for this week's reading. I am now returning to more of my Cartomancy style decks, and I woke up just this morning feeling like I wanted to work with the Gypsy Witch fortune telling playing card. So that is the deck of choice specifically. I'm working with the version that has been created by Lynn Boyle. It's my personal favorite. She calls it the Gypsy Witch fortune telling Oracle Cards. So I will be leaving a link in the description box below so you can learn more about it. Or if you're feeling like you want to add it to your collection, you will have all the information that will allow you to do just that thing. So again, we are working with the Gypsy Witch fortune telling Oracle Cards by Lynn Boyle. And so now that I've talked about the deck, let's now move to the table and take a look at the cards that are going to be making up this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. And here we are with the cards on the table. I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the cards. And just as I do every week, I'm focusing on my usual intention for these weekly general readings. And that is, we are looking for the information, the insight, and the guidance that will be most helpful and beneficial as we move through the upcoming week. Feeling one more time. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. fan the cards out. And now I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. I see these 3 right off the bat. Now I'm looking for card 4. I have it here. And card 5 over here. So these are the 5 cards. I'm going to do a line of 5. So now I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. Put that to one side. Alright, so now, just like I do most often when I do these line of 5 readings, I'm going to take a look at the middle card first. For me, the middle card represents the central issue, or something that we're being asked to focus on for the week ahead. Taking a look at the card, we have the bouquet. So what I do is when I work with Gypsy Witch cards, I look at the symbol first, and then I turn to the playing card aspect. So the symbol first. Here we have bouquet. So bouquet can represent things like gifts, it could represent invitations, it could represent some kind of surprise. So there may be a focus on a gift or an invitation this week and what we're going to do with that. And going with the invitation aspect of it, I'm jumping to the 10 of hearts. In that regard, for me, the 10 of hearts is a card that can represent amusement, fun, and entertainment. So there may be some invitation that's going to be taking center stage this week, pun on stage, and it may regard some kind of amusement or something having to do with entertainment, right? So there is that. And for some people, now I'm going to bring back the bouquet, it may come as a surprise, right? Or a gift. So if somebody is celebrating something like maybe a birthday or an anniversary, something of that nature, then there could be a gift that's going to come as a surprise, and it may be connected to some kind of entertainment type thing. So the first thing that comes to me is something like a concert, because the 10 of hearts is known as the town and city card for me, so that could represent something of a public nature, but it can also represent something where there's going to be an audience, a lot of people. So my first impulse is to think of something where there's like a concert where there's a lot of people in attendance. So that is one aspect of putting the 2 elements together. Another thing with the bouquet can represent appreciation. So there may be some sort of appreciation for someone's talents. I tend to look at this card as talent and something of a creative nature. So there may be that. And with that, then I'm going to bring this element back here. It may have to do, again, something with a large amount of people or a crowd. So there would be like maybe a party where there's going to be a number of people who are celebrating something involving one particular person. And that person's talent, maybe, if it's something having to do with talent, but maybe just appreciation of that person. And as I'm talking about that, another thing I talked about, this idea about a surprise, a gift, something of that nature. It could be because I talked about the idea of somebody's birthday or some kind of celebration or anniversary even. An anniversary would make sense too, because the 10 of hearts has to do with marriage and a marriage partner. So there is that to consider as well. So one possibility we have maybe an invitation to some kind of entertainment venue or event. And that could be for somebody's birthday or some other kind of surprise celebration. But there may be somebody focusing on celebrating their marriage with their marriage partner. So there may be something having to do with an anniversary and maybe an anniversary gift. One other thing that's coming to me in the moment, and this may be more of a generalization, a general message here with bouquet, I'm looking at a floral arrangement. So this could be the week where we're taking some time and energy, maybe some creative energy, into making arrangements of some kind, right? And if that's the case, then maybe the surrounding cards would give us something more to say about that. But there may be a need to put some focus on making some kind of arrangements. So again, bouquet can represent a gift, an invitation, a surprise, appreciation, and making arrangements. And then the Ten of Hearts could represent an audience, fun, amusement, entertainment, marriage, or a marriage partner, right? The one last thing that I want to say about the Ten of Hearts is that it can represent feelings. Hearts represents feelings and emotions. Feelings of success. The 10 is a number of success, or feeling victorious about something. So that may also be playing a part into the idea here about a surprise or a gift or some sort of appreciation. It may have to do with feelings of success or feeling victorious in a situation. So now taking a step back to see if there's anything else I want to say about the card. I think I'm feeling complete. So now what I'll do is I'll look at the surrounding cards. Starting with the card on the far left, opening the line up, we have, okay, so here we have the broken glass. So for me, this can represent something that we are reflecting on. The mirror is a reflective surface, so there may be something that we are needing to reflect on. It could also be, keeping with the mirror, symbology. It could have to do with somebody's self-image, right? You know, the way they see themselves. Sometimes for me, this can represent, the way we see ourselves. So it's about our sense of image and identity. So there may be something shifting with that. And that would make sense if we go back to the focus here with flowers or the bouquet. This could represent beauty. So there may be something having to do with someone's self-image or the way they identify themselves. And I would see this as maybe a sense of having a distorted image, distorted self-image, and needing to see one's own beauty and appreciate that. The message that's coming to me here in the moment, just keeping with the image here, is that it's talking about maybe the idea of like someone taking time and energy into comparing themselves to other people, and they lose sight of themselves, all the cracks in the glass. They're losing sight of themselves. Usually for me, when I engage in what I call the comparison trap, is that I will always be on the short end of that measuring stick, right? And I'm doing myself a disservice because I don't see or I don't appreciate my own sense of talents or my own sense of beauty or whatever the case may be. I'm focusing away from myself and onto somebody else, right? And I'm doing it at the expense of myself. So the expense part is a nice way to bring in the 8 of diamonds. This is the money card. So it could just be a matter of worth and value if we not make it about money per se, right? So it would be about self and value around image and identity, the way we see ourselves, right? So somebody may be putting some focus or needing to put some focus on there because there's a distorted sense of self or a distorted self-image, right? And then going with that, the 8 of diamonds is the card for me that can represent the eyes. So there's something about vision, sight, the way we're seeing something, our perception of something, It's making me feel like the way we are seeing something may not be all it's cracked up to be, and we need to make a shift, right? And then the 8 here with the 8 of diamonds is a number of power. So there may be a need to reclaim a sense of personal power because we have given the power or turned the power over to something else, something outside of ourselves. And that's not necessarily the healthiest thing to do. So now the other thing here could be there's something that maybe we are wanting to approach or engage in this week, and there's something about it being shattered. I always hear this song. It's an old song because you know me, I'm always talking about old musical references. But when I pull this card and I look at the mirror, I hear a song by Johnny Hates Jazz called Shattered Dreams. So there may be something that gets shattered and needing to pick up the pieces and recover that, or putting the pieces back together. And for someone in particular, that may be around marriage, Ten of Hearts, marriage, and a marriage partner. So there may be something about that. And again, if we're not feeling victorious or feeling successful where we are in the moment, it may be a need to come back here and ask ourselves, are we seeing the situation in a positive light, in a way that's helpful, that's serving us and supporting us? And I'm looking at the support for the mirror, right? So it could just be a matter of maybe needing to reframe. I'm looking at the frame of the mirror, needing to reframe the experience in a way that changes the outlook, right? And then the other thing I will say about the Eight of Diamonds is, and I believe this card came up in last week's reading, if I remember correctly, and so there may be something about finances, there may be something about bookkeeping, record keeping that, you know, again, is coming to the surface, or something that may need our attention. And when I put the two together, there may be someone, if we're talking about appreciation of a talent, then there may be somebody who does something that's going to shatter some kind of record. Because then the flowers would be about being awarded or rewarded for something. And it may be because a record of some kind gets shattered. You know, the idea of record shattering or something that's record breaking, something of that nature, that's coming to me in the moment looking at the cards. But from a very general standpoint, going back to the mirror as a symbol, it makes me feel like there's something that maybe we are not seeing clearly or correctly. There's something about our sense of perception being distorted, or that somebody is working on, or that we're working on picking up the pieces from a situation, like going through some kind of recovery. So that's how I would look at the first card. So now let's take a look at the card in between. And here we have, okay. So here we have lightning. So the first thing I see with this is that somebody may be picking up the pieces, and it may have to do with some kind of stormy weather, going with the idea that the cloud and the lightning could be a storm. In a more positive sense, if we are going through a period of recovery and picking up the pieces for something, then this card would be about brainstorming. The lightning here would represent brainstorming for me. So it would be about creating the air or the atmosphere for that process to happen. Right? It's making me feel with the cloud. The cloud is like a gray area or an area of uncertainty. And it's a visual pun for like the gray matter in our brain. But again, so this would be going back to brainstorming. Now the Six of Clubs, being the playing card insert, for me talks about communication. So there may be something that we need to communicate to another person. Again, if we go here with the Ten of Hearts, again talking about marriage and a marriage partner, so there may be a discussion with a marriage partner that needs to happen. The Six of Clubs is known as a card that represents books, so I'm seeing this idea about knowledge. So that would make sense with the brainstorming aspect of the lightning aspect of the card, talking about knowledge that comes from brainstorming. But for me, the Six of Clubs can represent communication and taking action on communication. The Suit of Clubs can represent taking action. And so just be like someone taking the action of having a communication or a discussion about something. But yeah, the other thing that's coming to me with the lightning is about a flash of insight. So I would see that with the lightning and the Six of Clubs. And so now let's move to the other side of the line. And here we have key. Oh, I like this. Okay, so I like that this is coming right after the lightning card, because key represents an answer or solution. So this, I love this here. Here we have the brainstorming activity, you know, the knowledge with the Six of Clubs, and then right after that we have the answer or solution. Key can also represent something that is discovered or revealed. So I like that. A key signifies things that are important. So I like this. So again, key represents answers, solutions, discovery, revelation, something being revealed, and something important or significant. So since the key is touching this card, everything here that I talked about with flowers or bouquet would be like if it's a surprise, if it's a gift, if it's an invitation, it's significant, it's important. Right? If this is a reward or something rewarding, it's important or significant. Again, that would play into the idea like possibility of a birthday, anniversary, something being celebrated. So I'm seeing that with key. Key also for me is the card that can represent the truth. So it could be saying too, like, we are making arrangements or taking some kind of action, going with the Six of Clubs, because we are moving into a place where it's important or something's going to be discovered, or we're getting to the truth of a matter, right? And then here with the Four of Clubs as the playing card insert, here we have two clubs. So again, clubs is the suit that represents action, taking action on something, but it's also the suit that can represent work or business. So in this particular case, I'm going to go more with the idea about work, meaning effort. You know, if we go with the idea that clubs can represent taking action on something, it's saying that we're putting effort into a situation. So for me, it could represent there's going to be some sort of work in the more metaphorical sense, something that we're putting some effort into, right? Something that we have to take action on or with, that kind of thing. So now, very interesting, we have here with the Six of Clubs, we have advice. This is an advice card. So this, for me, could represent either giving or receiving of advice. And then with the Four of Clubs, this can represent a teacher. So this would represent something that is learned. And that would make sense with this about being revelation or discovery, right? Something that we learn. And then remember, I said this was about knowledge. So there's about some sort of knowledge being gained this week. And it may come after going through maybe an experience where something was broken, something was shattered, you know, and we're in that space of picking up the pieces. And then we have some sort of knowledge being gained as to why this experience took place. Again, going with the idea that this is knowledge and this is the teacher card. And for someone in particular, there may be some sort of knowledge that comes through a phone call. This is usually my telephone call card, the Four of Clubs. So in this day and age, it may not be like a literal phone ringing and we have a conversation that way. But this could be, in this day and age, all forms of electronic communications. Because here we have knowledge being given and then the message being received. And then the last thing I will say with the Four of Clubs, it can also represent a car or a vehicle, playing on the idea that it represents four wheels, right? So if it's not in the literal sense, there may be a surprise or a gift, and it may actually be a car. Because I'm thinking like the key and the Four of Clubs talk about keys to a car or a car key, right? So if it's not that in the literal sense, then the Four of Clubs is talking about something that is moving forward, going with the idea that this is a travel. If we're talking about the car analogy, then this is about movement, moving something forward, right? And that would be knowledge being gained or the receiving of advice that allows us to move forward. And then the key would suggest that this advice that we're getting is important. It presents an answer or solution to something, or that whatever it is, it has the truth in it. So I'm seeing that with the Four of Clubs and key. And so now let's take a look at the last card rounding the line out. And here we have the birds and the Ace of Diamonds. So it's very interesting. So out of the playing cards, we have two clubs and two diamonds. And I like the fact that they're inner cards flanking the center card. Inner cards are the clubs and the outer cards are diamonds. So there's something symmetrical about that. But as a combination, the diamonds would represent success. It also represents rewards. It also represents energy. So it's making me feel like the work effort aspect of the clubs pays off with the diamond coming after it. It's like our efforts pay off or are rewarding. And that would go back to my central message here about making arrangements for something. So whatever the arrangements are that we center on and focus on this week, they have the potential, with work and effort being put into them, to pay off in a big way. Because we have the money card here, and then the Ace of Diamonds can also be money coming in, or the potential for money. So for some people, it might actually be putting work and effort into your finances, your financial recovery, and then you start to see money coming in. Ace of Diamonds, start to see money coming in, right? But if it's not money in the literal sense, and it would just be the potential for a big payoff or a big reward. And then that comes back to bouquet being about rewards and being awarded something or rewarded for something. So I'm seeing that with the Ace of Diamonds. The other thing with the Ace of Diamonds, since I started with that, the Ace of Diamonds can also represent news or message. It represents written correspondence or written communication. So if I pair this idea about a phone call, and then the Ace of Diamonds can represent written correspondence, this could be advice that comes in the form of a text message or a voicemail or even an email that you check on your phone, right? Not meaning like you have to check it on your laptop or your computer, but these days smartphones are little computers that we carry around with us all the time. So somebody may receive either a text message that is important, that has some important advice, or a voicemail. And now that brings into play here the birds. Birds is a card that can represent communication and conversation. That's my first go-to meaning for this. So again, we talked about this idea here with the Six of Clubs about taking action to have some kind of communication or a discussion or a conversation. It's being repeated here with birds, right? And I would say it's between two parties because there's two birds on the card and they're talking, so to speak, with each other, right? And so birds can also represent a couple. So here we have, again, bringing back the Ten of Hearts. This could be marriage and marriage partner. So for some people, there may be an important conversation that we need to have with our partners. So this could be literally marriage partner or someone that is like a marriage partner, right? So we need to have some sort of conversation. Here, if I pair key and birds, it would be an answer or solution is discussed, is talked about, or that the answer or solution is to communicate, is to have a conversation, right? And then the cards could also be the importance of communication, the importance of conversation, the importance of discussion. Now, two birds on the card doesn't necessarily have to do with just a marriage or marriage partner. This could be any two-party or two-way conversation. Another aspect that's coming to me in the moment, keeping with the idea here that this card can sometimes represent families and family members, then this could be siblings. Sometimes I see this as siblings and sometimes I see this as cousins. And with that, I said cousins, and the phrase kissing cousins just came into my mind. So it's making me feel the possibility here is that if we go with the idea that there a family situation or a family dynamic is showing up, there may be one in which the parties involved need to kiss and make up, because that's just what's coming to me now. And that would make sense. I sometimes see the flowers as beauty, and I talked about makeup. So there may be something about needing to repair some kind of damage being done, maybe in a more familial type situation. Again, going with that, this could be siblings or this could be cousins. And the important thing here is that there's a much needed conversation that needs to take place, and it centers around the truth. So for me, the truth would represent being honest, right? And then here we have, how can we clear the air? So I'm seeing that with birds and the Ace of Diamonds at the end of the line. And on that note, I will go ahead and wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's video reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.